The dust is settled and the smoke is cleared on the Daniel Jones deal. We'll get into some of the details. Joe Schoen very candid at his press conference after. We'll dig into that. And of course, viewer mailbag. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tommy's Takes. I'm your host, Tommy G. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Please do hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. Check me out on Twitter, TommyG105. As always, check out my Giants Country team, whether you like articles, podcasts, interviews. When it comes to hot Giants content analysis, Giants Country has it. So check them out. Let's get right into it like we always do. The dust is finally settled on the Daniel Jones contract, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes. Cap hits. So for this season, the cap hit is $18.5 million, which is obviously huge compared to the $32.5 million it would have been under the tag. This gives the Giants a little bit of room to play, sign some free agents, sign their rookie class, make some moves. Huge. 2024, that number goes up to $45 million. 2025, $39.5 million, dips down interestingly. 2026, when it really gets large at $55.5 million. Giants can get out of the contract after 2024 if they were to release Jones before the 5th day of the 2025 league year and before that $12 million vest. This is more like a 3-year deal when you break it down. If the Giants were to cut him after 2025, you save $46 million in cap, only $9 million in dead cap. The real annual average value is about $37.3 million, which puts him around 10th in the NFL, which is perfect. Daniel Jones gets his bag. The Giants protect themselves while only guaranteeing half of the deal. Remarkable. And for Daniel Jones, this is someone that had one foot out the door last season, right? They didn't pick up his option. They brought Tyrod Taylor in to back up. They made camp extra hard on Daniel Jones, right? This was some keys here. Comes into the season, loses Sterling Shepard before midseason. Loses Wan'Dale Robinson, the second-round pick, before midseason. Kadarius Toney, first-round pick receiver, gets traded. Kenny Golladay still fails to live up to his big contract. So this guy, Daniel Jones, has had everything against him and has fought through it. And that's why I think he's going to continue to do that in his career. I mentioned all the outs and stuff just so we could touch base. I don't think it's going to matter. I think he's going to get even a bigger deal in a couple of years. I think he's ascending. Second year in this offense. Second year in the offense for Brian Daboll, head coach. Second year as a head coach. Second year for Mike Kafka as offense coordinator. They're going to just grow together. They're going to get better together. You're going to see those passing numbers go up. So I know everybody's picking his contract apart. And there's some interesting things in there. Some $500,000 workout bonuses, which is nice for Daniel Jones. That's nice to see. Let's see if anything else interesting. You got his base salary for this year will be $9.5 million, fully guaranteed. Next year is $35 million. Year after is $30 million. Got some other stuff. Roster bonus of $1 million in 2026. Honestly, listen, the numbers are what they are. Giants got their quarterback. Their running back's coming back. And when you see the Joe Burrow contract coming up, Jalen Hurts, this Jones contract's going to look like a great deal. So let people pick it apart. Giants got their guy. They rewarded Jones for having a good season last year, leading the team to a playoff victory. And he's been through hell with this team. The owner has even admitted it. So big shout out again, Daniel Jones. Joe Schoen echoed this at the presser, at his press conference, and was flat out asked, do you think Daniel Jones can win a Super Bowl? And, of course, the GM is not going to say no or maybe. He says he's going to say yes. But I believe it because Joe Schoen could have walked away from this quarterback, walked away from this deal, and said, hey, you know what? I want to start over. I want to do this rebuild 100% thoroughly. It's not my guy. I didn't draft him. 15 touchdown passes. I'm going to draft someone. And there would have been some mad Giants fans. But for the most part, I think people would have said, you know what? Let him go get his guy. Let him build this way the way he wants to. This is his career. He's going to hitch himself to a quarterback. So that's how you know Joe Schoen really wanted Daniel Jones. Wasn't any real pressure to sign Daniel Jones. Could have used his draft picks. Giants were just awarded 2 supplemental draft picks, a 5th-round pick and a 7th. Could trade up and get your quarterback. He didn't want to. He felt like he had his quarterback. He paid his quarterback. Also talked about how the negotiations got a little bit tenuous, how he set a soft deadline for 12 p.m. that day in case the internet wasn't working or, they couldn't get their stuff out. Obviously, the deal came a lot later. But all in all, Joe Shane sounded very happy. He also talked about having ongoing talks with Dexter Lawrence's representatives. That's great to hear. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence coming off an amazing 2022 season where he just absolutely crushed it, dominant. Finally moved him to that zero tackle position, and he just crushed it. So that'll be nice to see. Tag is $18 million, almost more than 18, about $19 million for nose tackles, interior defensive tackles. So that gives you a little hint of what the deal is going to kind of start at. Seems as if no progress with Julian Love's representatives. I don't think he comes back. I think a team pays him $8 or $9 million to be their safety. Giants already have to look at signing McKinney long term next year. They drafted Dane Belton last season. He played significant reps in 2022, even though it kind of seemed like he got in the doghouse a little bit. But I think he's going to play a major role. Don't think they bring Love back. Those comments kind of echoed that sentiment for me. He was also asked about Kenny Golladay. You're going to cut him pre-June 1st. You're going to cut him post-June 1st. Shout out Patricia Trainer. She asked him. It was an awesome question. And he basically said, hey, we're not there yet. We haven't figured it out. But we want a clean, healthy cap. We don't want to push any more dead money into 2024. We had to do that already in 2022 just for necessity moves. That's how bad the cap was, folks. So he doesn't want to do that. And if you do Golladay post-June 1st, yes, you get $6 million more in cap space now, but you're pushing more dead money into 2024. I say you cut him pre-June 1st. Take your $6.7 million you get for now, free cap out of it. Clean, wipe your hands of this deal. Get him off the books. Get his name out of there. That's how it should be done, and that's kind of what he alluded to. Clean, healthy cap, and that's important. That's critical for a good GM if you want long-term success in the NFL. So I think it'll be pre-June 1st. You also have the signing of Gerard Davis. That was an interesting one. People kind of giving the side eye to Gerard Davis, but he was signed for depth. Yes, he started last season at the end, but you're not going to have him starting next year. He should be on special teams, will provide a huge boost for the special teams, and Giants need that. They need the depth boost, special teams boost. So that was a major signing. Not major, but a good signing, and it shows where the team focus is at. Fix this depth while you try to get those big fish free agents. March 13th to the 15th, teams can negotiate with their unrestricted free agents. It's kind of the legal tampering period, whatever you want to call it. March 15th is when you can negotiate with regular free agents and you can negotiate with tagged players. So a player like Lamar Jackson, Baltimore can't talk to him until the 15th. So those are 2 dates to look forward to. All in all, as a Giants fan, should be very happy. Like I said, I think Daniel Jones really starts to ascend even more. You got Saquon back. He was dynamic last year. You got him back at a good price at the cap. Joe Shane is still going to try to get a deal done there, which should be interesting. I think it's going to be a little bit trickier than Joe's leading on and some fans think. I think that deal is going to be a little bit tricky, signing Barkley long term. We'll see. They offered him 12.5 during the bye week last year. Didn't want it, so we'll see where that goes. But, Joe Shane seems in full control. He's a young GM, obviously second year as a GM, but has all the right answers, and so far his moves have proved it, right? He got his quarterback. He wanted his quarterback. He paid for his quarterback. Brought Saquon back on the tag, and is still continuing discussions. If he's not seeing eye to eye with an agent, he's going to tell you, like with Julian Love. He's very upfront. The Gerard Davis signing shows you he's dedicated to depth. They saw something they liked. We'll see if that happens for players like a Landon Collins. He's unrestricted free agent. We'll see. But that's where the Giants are at right now since the last time we've spoke. Now we'll get into the goodies. Q&A, viewer mailbag. First and foremost, thank you everybody for the support. Thank you everybody for submitting questions. Means the world to me. Love engaging with you guys and gals. Drop some more comments in there. Love going back and forth commentary. We had some great questions. Let's get started. First one is Richard Switsky. Richard, big fan of the show. Appreciate you, Richard. Big supporter. What are the biggest weaknesses on this Giants team, and how could they be fixed? So we'll pick one. We'll go wide receiver. Giants last season had the slowest weighted 40 time for any wide receiver unit in the NFL. Struggled with drops with James and Slayton. Giants were bottom 5 in plus 20-yard passes, plus 40-yard passes. Obviously, that goes on Jones as well, not just the receivers. But it's a big problem. The team consistently struggled to push the ball downfield deep. So I think they fixed it in the draft. Really a very weak wide receiver free agent class. You got Lazard out there, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they're still going to be expensive. Even though they're not top flight free agent receivers, still going to cost you. So I think they go to the draft first round. Maybe they sign a Parrish Campbell, a cheaper free agent. But I think ideally you want to get that position in the draft. That's a high dollar, high value position. If you can get that controllable for a few years, that's what you want to do, Richard. Thank you for the question. Next up, my boy, Dimes J, also does some great Giants content out there. Check him out. He asked what would be my dream pick in the draft and what would be a nightmare pick. So my dream pick would be Porter Jr., cornerback. It's not going to get anywhere near the Giants pick, but wow, he fits perfectly in this Wink Martindale defense. He has length, speed, strength, fluid hips, could dip, spin, great fluidity. He would fit perfectly in his defense. Unfortunately, he won't have a chance. But you asked my dream pick. So nightmare pick, running back. I don't touch running back unless it gets to like the 5th, 6th round. Got Barkley back on the tag. Let's see what Brightwell could do. Maybe they bring Breida back. I don't touch a running back till late. That would be my nightmare pick. Thanks, Jay. Next one up, Gunner _ D Stunner. Another great supporter of the show. Appreciate you, brother. It's a good question. What will the secondary look like in September? So I have Adoree at cornerback 1. Cross your fingers, Aaron Robinson can play cornerback 2. That's the biggest question mark, Gunner. Can Aaron Robinson come back and play healthy? He was a pretty high draft pick. Had the appendectomy last year, the knee injury, never got going. He's the biggest question mark. Would love to see Flott in the slot. That was good, that rhyme, right? Flott in the slot full time. He came on a little bit towards the end of the season. Get that weight up, build that body up, get in the slot, get ready to battle. That would be ideal. Darnay Holmes, I believe, would be a cap casualty. Just hasn't worked out here for him. Great kid, but walking penalty, sloppy technique most of the time. I think he's gone. Maybe you bring back a Fabian Moreau for depth. Played well in spots last season, but that's kind of where I would call it. Maybe you draft somebody, right? A lot of people put cornerback up there as a heavy hole for the Giants because Adoree, you don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to extend him? He's had some injury troubles too. Maybe you draft a cornerback. If a guy like Deonte Banks falls to 25, you snag him, you jump on him. But that's kind of where I would be right now, Gunna. It was a great question. Thank you, brother. Next one, Joseph Fontanez, another great supporter of the show. Appreciate you, Joe. Would you trade a 2 for Hopkins or draft a receiver? Kind of just touched on it. Hopkins, obviously a great receiver. He's coming off 2 down years, had the PED issue. He said he would rework the last couple years of his deal, which is nice, but still going to be pricey. If Joe Shane thinks it's the right move to do, you go for it. You bring a talented veteran receiver, but ideally, price-wise, you'd want to stay in that draft pick range. Maybe they do both. Maybe they take a Parrish Campbell, bring him in. Who knows, right? Because Slayton's probably going to walk. But I would say you can build through the draft there. So thank you, Joe. Next up is Triple Stripes. This is a good one. Did Mara and Joe Shane show their hands by outwardly wanting Jones to come back? Well, a few people said that. I've seen that. Honestly, I don't think so. It's not like the agents came into the room and were like, well, you said you wanted him and you said you really liked him, so now here's your price, right? There's a market. There's a value assigned there. So I don't think so. It is what it is. They wanted their guy. They said it outwardly and they got him. Second part of the question is Joe Shane on the hook if Jones doesn't play well, getting fired, etc. Obviously, yes. You give a quarterback $160 million, you believe in him, you're on the hook for that. I think more important is this draft coming up for Joe Shane, Brandon Brown, Giants front office. Last year's draft was a little bit of an enigma. You get the 2 top 7 picks. Seemed like the whole draft class was injured, though they did play a lot of snaps collectively, which is nice. They got a lot of experience, not a lot of production. So I think this draft is a little more important right now. But that was a good question, Triple Stripes. Appreciate you. Next up, Dr. Drew, but not that Dr. Drew. He thinks defense will be addressed in free agency, offense in the draft. I agree with you, Dr. Drew. I think they get a linebacker in free agency, maybe get in some interior D-line help in free agency. Draft, I go wide receiver, interior O-line. So I do agree with you, Dr. Drew. Again, apologies to you for the Thin Mints incident. Apologies to Patty as well. Thin Mints are not bad. I just don't consume them. So just want to get that out there. But appreciate you, Dr. Drew. All right, next, Kiev NYG. What is the Eagles' Super Bowl record? That's a good question. I'll have to look. No, I don't. It's 1-3. And they were 1-2 win-loss away from being 0-4 and being the modern-day Buffalo Bills. So, 1-3, Kiev. That's a great question. Appreciate you, brother. Next up, Danny, 1998. Love the name. Love the year. That was a good year. What will a Dexter Lawrence contract extension look like? Great question. The tag is $19 million this year, so that'll be the floor. Obviously going to be higher next year. You're probably looking at 21, 22 million. Right now you have Aaron Donald at 31 million AAV. Then you have a couple of guys at 20. You have Leonard Williams coincidentally at 20. DeForest Buckner, Chris Jones, all at 20. So you're looking at probably a 4-year deal around 22 million per. So thank you, Danny. Great question. Mr. Met, what do you think Jones' stats will be next year? More passing, less rushing. I think that's what everybody wants. I think that's what everyone's going to get. Like I said, second year in the system for him. Dable, Kafka. Love to see Danny get to that 4K passing yard mark. That would be nice. Touchdown-wise, I mean, if he could add an extra 10 and he can get you 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, you take that. That's progression. Just because he got this big bag doesn't mean that you wave a magic wand over him and he's going to throw 40 touchdown passes. Football doesn't typically work like that. So I would say 4,000 yards passing, 25 passing touchdowns. I want to see him run a little bit less. Take a little, less hits. More efficiency, less volume out of him rushing. Same thing with Saquon. Avoid that. Keep them fresh running-wise. So that's where I would be, Mr. Met. Great question. Next one is Hope You're Happier. Very similar question. How many touchdowns do you see for Jones next season? Let's see. 30. 26 passing, 4 rushing. 30 TDs for Danny Dimes. Appreciate your question. Next up, Ash. Great question here. First 2 rounds in the draft, what positions? I'm going wide receiver and linebacker. Unless a good cornerback like Banks slips, then maybe you slip cornerback in there. But that really, really depends on free agency. Obviously, if you sign a stud linebacker in free agency, that pushes that need a lot further down in the draft. Same thing with receiver. But right now, I go wide receiver, linebacker with cornerback on the outside looking in. Fire Pit Joe, great supporter of the show. Appreciate you, brother. Always dropping great comments. Love this question. Is OBJ in the mix? I asked everybody today. Everybody split. Some say yes, some say no, some say never. I'm going to say no only because too many question marks there. The 2 ACLs, hasn't played since 2 Super Bowls ago. Made some not great headlines in the last couple months. He had his free agent tour, had the plane issue. Not sure if he fits what Joe Shane is trying to do right now. But, and this is a big but, if you can get him back on a fair value deal and he could still play, that would be a huge boost for the offense. But right now, I'm going to have to lean towards no, Joe, honestly. Just don't think it's going to happen. But thank you for the question, Joe. Again, appreciate you. And the last question, save the best for last. My brother Darius Smith, huge supporter of the show. I always see you in the live chats. It means the world to me, Darius. Really appreciate that. 2-part question. Since it hasn't been talked about a lot, what strengths and weaknesses did you see from the special teams unit? And how do you fix it? Well, strengths was easy. It was Graham Gano. Accurate, can still kick from deep, consistent. And the weaknesses were everywhere else. Inconsistent punting, mediocre to bad punt coverage, kick coverage. You had punts blocked, punts dropped, shanked, you name it. Giants had it in a bad way. Return-wise, not a lot there. Brightwell did get going towards the end of the year. That was nice to see. But all in all, special teams is weak. And like I said before, if you fix the depth on this team, you fix special teams on this team. And that's why I love the Gerard Davis re-signing, because that's a step in the right direction. There you go. You got some depth. Giants had their starters, their special teams players as starters last season. That's not the formula. It's not a winning formula. That's why what they were able to do last year was even more remarkable. Shout out to the coaching staff. But more signings like Gerard Davis, get some more depth. Maybe you get a faster kick returner, right? Brightwell did a solid job. But, a little bit left. He's not the fastest. Let's put it that way. I would say you get a little bit of more speed back there. That would be a big help. Other than that, Darius, just got to play. Got to coach harder and play harder on special teams. Once you have depth there, you got to make those plays, because if you want to win the Super Bowl, special teams plays a major, major role. That's it for the questions. I just want to thank every single person that dropped a question. We'll be back soon. Free agency coming up. Can the Giants land that big fish? We'll see. Receiver, linebacker, cornerback, O-line depth, D-line depth. A little bit of it all would help. Thank you, everyone, again for those questions. For now, peace.